I had to check it was April 1st. I didn't really believe it at first.
Forget everything you thought you knew about the NBA. The 2025 trade deadline just flipped the league upside down. The wildest trade deadline in NBA history is history. So let's talk this over. It is time to assess the massive and sweeping undertow that is the trade deadline 2025. You want Luka Dončić moved? Check. Jimmy Butler? Check. How about aaronfox teaming with Wemby? Check, check, check. It is too much to handle, and we haven't even got to Anthony Davis or Kyle Kuzma in the ex-Laker 2020 titleist category yet. It was a wild week, we can agree on that much. So let's get into what just happened the last 2 days and what's next. We already knew Wemby had himself a point guard of the first order arriving in Fox, and this is a big move for the next few years at least. Dončić as a Laker teaming with LeBron could be a historic pairing, or it could fizzle and LeBron could end up playing the point on the Wizards next year. We don't know. But either way, it will be quite interesting in Los Angeles. Beyond these moves, we saw Jimmy Butler finally dealt to the Warriors, a team he didn't want to re-sign with. But after a look at the NBA landscape and who Miami would deal with, obviously Butler said this was his best play, and it likely was. Teaming with Steph Curry and Draymond Green gives him a supporting cast that knows how to play, and their high basketball IQ will not be matched except by the LA squad. If those two teams play, it seems like you'll need a stat service to check on records for total playoff games won in a series by all participants. That would be a huge matchup, but quite a lot of teams stand in the way of it. Like, for instance, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who made a small move for Daniel Theis, but otherwise stood pat at 39-9 and in command of the conference number 1 seed. They were knocked out by a Dallas team last year that no longer exists as a threat, so we'll call OKC the biggest winners in the trade deadline sweepstakes. Granted, Dallas was a mess this year, but with Minnesota no longer in the same shape they were after the Karl Anthony Towns trade, the conference title is within reach. Our take? Only 2 teams stand in the way. The revamped Lakers, who also wisely dealt for a big man in Mark Williams who will at least replace some of Davis' production and can guard the middle a bit against the other team we will mention, the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have the world's best player in the middle, but everyone else has been a bit inconsistent this year. Can Russell Westbrook give them the firepower they need along with Jamal Murray? Will Murray, Gordon, and Porter come together the second half of the season to play them into a leader position? Time will tell, but these seem to be the teams in the running now that the Mavs have closed up shop for the winter and seem to be planning, well, we're not sure. And speaking of the Mavs, and Thunder as well, the Thunder own a 2028 pick swap with the Mavs that no longer will be influenced by Luka Dončić. As if the Thunder needed more lottery selections. Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie Irving will all be 35 plus by then, and that's the issue. By the latest count, Philadelphia's number 1 this year gives the Thunder 3 total first rounders. And if the 76ers manage to finish in the top 6 of the lottery, then the pick will only be top 4 protected next year. Thunder picks for the next few years also include a Clippers pick swap in 2027, and that's outside the Kawhi Leonard James Harden years, so that might be yet another Thunder calling at the lottery. When Sam Presti builds a second empire, he doesn't like to take chances, and this time it's personal. The Thunder standing pat was a polite way of saying, folks, we're not quite done yet building this team. But let's keep moving. Anthony Davis certainly changes the Mavs front court, and yes, they will have a better defender in the middle at power forward, where he prefers to play. They can also slide PJ Washington to the 3 and add more shooting at the same time. But unless Kyrie and Klay can manage some great things, this is a team that will fight for the lower seeds, and will certainly have trouble against deep teams that are strong at the wing positions. Sacramento has likely moved on from playoff contention without Fox. But Zach LaVine will get a look, and at the least they'll score a ton of points. The Spurs have some ground to make up, but adding De'Aaron Fox gives them 2 elite scoring options that are both extremely tough to guard. They have some big stuff coming long term, but this year they'll also be fighting to get to the Final 8, and then we'll perhaps see how playoff run goes for Victor Wembanyama. The Clippers want to say don't forget about us, and so we won't. The Thunder have a pick swap with them this year. Oof. As if things weren't already heading towards OKC. In the next few weeks, we'll see how the new-look Lakers gel. San Antonio started off with a first win against Atlanta, and everyone played well. Let's see what happens. The Lakers have a core lineup now of Dončić at point guard, Austin Reeves at the 2, Rui Hachimura and LeBron at forward, and Mark Williams at center. While that doesn't scream Detroit Bad Boys defense, it will spell a lot of matchup problems when they have way too many options to guard against. So, expect some serious improvement when Dončić takes the court. If they can find a forward defensive specialist by way of the waiver wire or veterans, that might be all the better. That brings us to the Warriors. We left them for dead and whistled goodbye dynasty. Was it too quick a proclamation? Let's see what Jimmy Butler has to say about it, as he's teaming with Steph Curry to give them quite a lot of firepower. If nothing else, whoever wins out west can honestly say they've played the best, because LeBron, Luka, Steph, and Jimmy are four of the best, if not the best, clutch playoff performers of the post-Michael Jordan era, and certainly of the post-Kobe era. Tim Duncan just looked up, but we'll leave that for now. The Warriors have a good mix of young players like their homegrown wings Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski, and still have the Green Looney infrastructure on defense. What they also have now is a player who exceeds the intensity level of Curry and Draymond, and that player is Jimmy Butler. Butler can take defenders inside or hit from outside, and his defense is a massive upgrade from where they've been. Andrew Wiggins is a great defender at times, but his offense never quite matched his finals run versus Boston, so this is a big deal for Golden State. They are on the bubble right now, but solid play in the next few weeks could allow them to fight the Clippers for the 6th spot and avoid the play-in. And of course, avoid OKC and let someone else figure out how to deal with the best depth and best defense out west, at least for the first 2 rounds. We didn't even talk about the Eastern Conference yet because of the seismic activity out west, but we'll say that Cleveland improved their weakest spot, small forward, with a smart trade that sent DeAndre Hunter their way for Karis LeVert and Georges Niang, and a few picks down the road. Hunter is a big small forward that can play defense, score, and rebound. This is a very solid move, and he comes from a winning background, having won a tote at Virginia. So Cleveland got better while the Celtics, the defending champs, stay put and get beat at home by, of all teams, the Mavs, playing with Luka. Can't make this stuff up. The big question is now, can the Cavs win a best-of-7 series against the Celtics? Should we find ourselves there in the Eastern Conference Finals? Your guess is as good as ours, but it'll be some seriously competitive basketball. The Cavs seem loaded and balanced now, but the Celts have a ring for a reason. So we've talked about the winners, now let's talk about some teams that might not have added quite enough punch in our estimation. The Bucks brought in scorer Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton, and while Kuz can certainly hit shots, the Bucks' defense and athleticism not named Giannis is a bit worrying. Not sure what else they could have done, but the Bucks feel like a team that needs a bit more at the 2 and 3, even with Giannis still playing at a top 5 level. Back out west is going to be a nasty fight for seeding, and no one wants to play extra games with extra travel late in the year. But alas, only 6 teams will be in, and the next 4 will have to play to get in. And through it all, the Suns were hard capped and unable to swing the Butler trade that would have teamed him with Durant and Booker. Bradley Beal is still there, and his contract is pretty huge for the next 2 years after. The Suns are around the 500 mark now, and someone in the top 10 is going to fall to 11, meaning there won't be any play-in. Who's it going to be? In the East, can anyone stop a Cleveland-Boston Conference final? Are the Knicks already at their peak? Or is more to come with more time to work their offseason acquisitions in? It didn't seem like anyone was interested in dealing besides the Bucks and Cavs, and the Heat have taken a step back, so it's hard to proclaim anyone besides the Cavs a trade deadline winner here. Whatever the case may be for your team, however it goes from here, that was a huge trade deadline. Well, either way, we'll keep an eye on things, and please let us know what you think in the comments section. And if you like, please click subscribe. As always, the unexpected is what we expected, and we got what we expected this week.